What do you say when a cop looks you in the eye and tells you that you don't need a lawyer? You say one sentence and you stop playing their game. Say the wrong thing and you can hand them the whole case. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could save your freedom when your heart is racing and your mind goes blank, and tap like before you forget this, because you do not want to be trying to remember. These words from the back of a police car. In the next few minutes, you're going to learn the exact line that protects you when an officer pushes you to keep talking, the exact question that tells you whether you're actually stuck or free to go, the exact sentence that blocks consent searches, and the exact way to stay calm without sounding rude. Most people have no idea how fast a normal stop turns into a fishing trip. One small yes, one nervous joke, one careless answer, and suddenly your night gets very long. Let me show you exactly how. Smart drivers keep control without yelling, arguing, or making things worse. Here's the reality. A lot of officers do not need you to confess. They need you to talk. They need you to fill silence with words. They need you to agree to things that sound small. They ask casual questions. They act friendly. They tell you relax, or if you've got nothing to hide, just answer me. That is where most drivers lose. Not because they are guilty, because they are nervous, because they want the stop over, because they think being extra helpful will make the officer go easy on them. Sometimes it does. A lot of times it doesn't. If a cop says you don't need a lawyer, what they usually want is for you to keep talking without one. That is the trap. Here's the trick: they don't want you knowing your rights only. Help you when you actually use them out loud and use them clearly. Thinking them in your head does nothing. Hinting does nothing. Being polite but vague does nothing. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. If your words are soft, confused, or half-hearted, the officer keeps pushing. If your words are short, clear, and firm, the whole stop changes. The first thing you need to know is this. A traffic stop has a lane. The officer can deal with the reason for the stop, check your license, registration, and insurance, and decide whether to warn you or ticket you. That is the basic mission. But once you start chatting, guessing, explaining, or agreeing, the stop can grow legs. It can drift into questions about where you came from, where you're going, who was with you, whether you've had anything to drink, whether there is anything illegal in the car, and whether they can take a quick look. That drift is where your problems begin. Here's the reality. Your goal is not to win the stop. Your goal is to leave with your rights intact. The first tactic is the question that tells you what kind of encounter you're really in. You look at the officer and say this: am I being detained, or am I free to leave? Those exact words, memorize them. Not because they are magic, but because they force clarity. If you're free to leave, the conversation is over unless you keep it going. If you're being detained, then you know this is not a friendly chat and you stop volunteering extra information. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the tone fast. It tells the officer you know the difference between a request and an order. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I'm just trying to get home, officer," or "Why are you doing this to me?" Then the stop gets longer and the officer keeps control of the whole conversation. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Am I being detained, or am I free to leave?" Then the officer has to make the situation clear and you stop wandering into traps. Watch what happens when you ask that question the right way. The officer now has to pick a lane. If the reason for the stop is done and they have nothing more, they may let you go. If they keep you there, you now know this is a detention, which means you should talk less, not more. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it helps show whether the stop turned into something longer than it should have been. And yes, this is 100% legal. You are not being rude. You are asking for clarity. Now, do not use that question like a movie tough guy. You do not bark it. You do not repeat it 10 times in 10 seconds. You say it once, calmly. You keep your hands visible. You do not reach around. You do not argue about the answer on the roadside. If the officer says you're detained, you stay calm and move to the next tactic. If the officer says you're free to go, then go. Do not stay and explain. Do not keep talking because you want the officer to like you. The second you are free, leave. That one habit alone can save you from a lot of trouble. Have you ever had an officer keep talking after the stop should have been over? Drop a comment below, because I want to know if you've seen this happen in real life. The second tactic is the sentence that shuts down the easy search. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Memorize that line. If they ask to look in your car, your trunk, your bag, or your phone, that is your answer. Short, calm, clear. No speech. No excuses. "No, I guess so if I have to." Just that one sentence. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection because consent is the shortcut. If you hand them consent, you make their job easier. If you refuse consent, they need some other legal reason. Bad way. Most drivers say, I don't have anything, so go ahead. Then a simple stop turns into a full search. And now every item in your car gets attention. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer knows you are not giving away your protection for free. Listen closely because this is critical. Refusing consent does not mean the officer always walks away. They may still claim another reason. They may call for a dog. They may ask again in a different way. They may say, if you've got nothing to hide, why not let me look? That line is made to make you feel guilty for having rights. Do not fall for it. Your rights are not suspicious. Your rights are your rights. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings about the limits of traffic stops. Officers cannot drag a stop out forever just to go hunting for something unrelated without more reason. That is why your refusal matters so much. Let me show you exactly why your wording matters here. If you say, I'd rather you didn't, that can sound weak. If you say, do whatever you want, you just lost. If you say, I do not consent to any searches, your position is clear. That sentence helps later if the stop gets reviewed. It shows you did not agree. It shows you did not open the door. It shows you knew enough to protect yourself. Without fighting. This is 100% legal, and it works best when you say it once, then stop talking. The third tactic is the one tied straight to your title. When a cop says, you don't need a lawyer, you say this, I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer, those exact words. Not maybe I should get one. Not do you think I need one? Not should I call somebody. You say it clearly. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. That sentence matters because the law is brutal about vagueness. If you are fuzzy, questioning can keep going. If you are clear, you have drawn the line. Bad way. Most drivers say maybe I should talk to a lawyer or I think I might need one. Then the officer keeps asking questions and your words keep piling up against you. Good way. Smart drivers say I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. Then you have clearly asked for counsel and clearly chosen to stop talking. This point is bigger than most people realize. One Supreme Court case says you have to be told your rights in custodial questioning. Another says if you want a lawyer, you need to ask clearly enough that there is no real confusion. Another says if you want to use your right to stay silent, you need to say that clearly too. In plain English, the system rewards clear words, not hints. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it is direct, easy to remember, and hard to twist. If the officer says, you don't need a lawyer, that is not your cue to debate, that is your cue to repeat your line and stop talking. Watch what happens when you do this correctly. The officer may try one more time. They may say, we're just talking. They may say, help yourself out. They may say, only guilty people ask for lawyers. None of that changes your answer. You already gave it. You do not explain why you want a lawyer. You do not defend your silence. You do not try to sound innocent. You simply stop talking. That silence is not weakness. That silence is strategy. Former police officers have confirmed this works because there is nothing useful to work with when you stop feeding the conversation. If you've made it this far, you're serious about protecting your rights. Show me by hitting that like button, because the next part ties everything together and most drivers never learn it. The fourth tactic is how you stay cooperative without becoming their witness against yourself. Here's exactly what you say. I will provide my license, registration, and proof of insurance, and I choose not to answer questions. That line is gold because it keeps you from looking combative while still protecting you. You are not refusing lawful documents. You are not refusing basic orders like stepping out if ordered. You are refusing to build a case with your own mouth. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection during the early part of a stop because your biggest risk is often not what they find. It's what you say. Bad way. Most drivers say I only had 2 beers, I'm coming from my cousin's house, or that's not my bag. Then they hand over details the officer can test, twist, or use later. Good way. Smart drivers say I will provide my license, registration, and proof of insurance. And I choose not to answer questions. Then the stop stays focused on what the officer can actually prove. A lot of people think silence makes them look guilty. That is backwards. Talking is what creates openings. If you guess how fast you were going, that can hurt you. If you guess whether your friend left something in the car, that can hurt you. If you joke badly, that can hurt you. If you try to talk your way out of it, that can hurt you. Silence does not confess. Silence does not guess. Silence does not fill gaps for them. And remember, you are still being polite. You are still following lawful directions. You are just not volunteering the rope they can use on you. That is smart, not suspicious. Now let's put the legal backbone under everything I just taught you. Miranda v. Arizona is the famous case people know from TV in simple English. If police are questioning you while you are in custody, you must be told your rights, including your right to remain silent and your right to. A lawyer, Davis v. United States matters because it says your request for a lawyer must be clear, not maybe, not I think so. Clear. Berghuis v. Thompkins matters because it says you cannot just sit there and hope silence alone does all the work. You need to say you are invoking your right to remain silent, and Rodriguez v. United States matters because it says a traffic stop cannot be stretched longer. For unrelated digging without more legal reason, let me show you exactly what all that means for you. Clear words protect you. Vague words expose you. And this comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. So now picture a real stop, your lights flash behind you. Your chest tightens, you pull over. The officer walks up and asks for your license, registration, and insurance. You hand them over. Then comes the friendly part. Where you headed? You got anything illegal in the car? Mind if I take a quick look? This is where most drivers crack. They laugh. They explain. They overshare. They start trying to look innocent instead of staying protected. They say, no, nothing at all, you can check. Or they say, I'm just coming from a friend's place. I had one drink hours ago. That bag belongs to my cousin. They think they're helping. They are not helping. Now watch the right way. You hand over your documents if questions start. Drifting, you say, I will provide my license, registration, and proof of insurance, and I choose not to answer questions. If the officer asks to search, you say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. If the stop seems done but the talking continues, you ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? If things escalate and the officer starts pressing harder or says you do not need a lawyer, you say, I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. Then you stop. No speech, no debate, no rescue attempt with extra words. Just calm, short, repeatable lines. See the difference? In the wrong version, you become the main witness against yourself. In the right version, you force the officer to work with facts instead of your fear. In the wrong version, you give permission, guesses, and explanations. In the right version, you give documents, not stories. In the wrong version, the stop grows bigger because your mouth keeps giving it fuel. In the right version, the stop stays narrow unless the officer has some real legal reason to push further. That is the power here. Not magic words, not internet swagger, just simple lines that keep you from making a hard moment worse. And one more thing, do not confuse protecting your rights with resisting. If an officer gives a lawful order, follow it. If they order you out of the car, get out. If they tell you where to stand, stand there. You can protect your rights and still stay safe. Your script is not to fight on the roadside. Your script is to stay calm, say little, and save the argument for court with a lawyer next to you. That is where smart people win. Next week I'm dropping the video on what to say when cops claim they smell weed. Subscribe right now because that one mistake gets people searched every single day, and you need those exact words before it happens to you. So here's your quick recap. First, ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? So you know what kind of encounter you're in. Second, say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches, so you do not hand away your protection. Third, say, I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer if questioning turns serious or they tell you that you do not need one. Fourth, provide your documents and choose not to answer extra questions. Smart drivers do less talking and keep more control. Hit subscribe so you catch that smell weed video next week. Smash like if this script just gave you words you can actually use under pressure, and drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize. First, stay safe out there.